like that night, not only like could I feel the presence of my grandmother, grandfather, and my uncle, they all came and stood around me in a field like that was Fringe Festival in Adelaide. I was sitting there on the phone to my cousin having a drink, and next thing, they were standing around me and brought in two other people. And I'm like, I have five spirits standing around me now. I can see them. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm not sure what's going on. And anyway, that's a long story in itself. Then later that night, we got back to my friend's place, and they were like, they still weren't believing me. Like they were like, oh, you've had a hard day, like maybe you're just imagining things and everything. And we just finished having that conversation. I'm like, okay, I said, yeah, maybe like it's been a full-on day. Like I didn't think I was that like emotionally affected, as in like that it would break me.
Yep.
Um, and so I'm like, okay, I'm going to get another drink. So I walked away from the table into the kitchen to get another drink. And as I walked out, there's my uncle sitting on the chair that I was sitting in, like mocking both of them, talking to each other, like with his legs crossed. He's like, like this. And then he looked at me and laughed.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm just like, that's exactly what he would do. And I'm just like, I'm not going to tell him that my uncle was just sitting mocking them. And then the next night, like I'm like, okay, I'm not going to talk about it more. The next night, the girl that I had just met, um, her grandmother came and stood behind her. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, all right, I know you think I'm crazy, but your grandmother is behind you.
You were pretty open about it too. You weren't shy, were you?
I had no idea what's happening. I'm just like, this is weird. This, like, why am I seeing these things? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And she's like, I don't want to know anything. And then one of the other women there, and she's like, oh no, she's like, one of my friends like can see spirits. And then her dad came and stood behind her, and I'm like, oh, okay, your dad's now standing behind you. And she goes, what does he look like? And so I explained, and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, that could be my dad. And then her dad showed me a memory of her when she was younger. And I explained the room, I explained the conversation, and she's like, that happened. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like he just told it, like he showed it to me. And then he showed me another memory, which was the last conversation they had just before he died. And she's like, oh my goodness. And she goes, you're freaking me out. And then the other, like my friend and his friend are like, can you please stop talking about this? It's freaking us out. I'm like, freaking you out? What do you think I'm feeling right now?
So what have you done? So what have you done in the future now that you've got this? It looks like you've got some. You've exposed a gifting within yourself.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
okay, all right, I'm going to throw. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't really do it. Do you see it all the time? Like when you're around, say you and me are talking right now. Do you
Yeah.
do you get a sense of anyone around, or have you explored this gift at all?
No, I ended up deliberately trying to cut it off because it was happening too often. And so,
Okay,
yes, that's basically what was happening. Like it was just
okay.
people would come in like all the time,
And how'd you
and
do? And how'd you do that? Did you? Because I know, obviously, how do you stop something like that? How did you do it?
so I went to and I do apologize to people. I don't know what to call it. In my mind, I call it the hippy dippy shop. I was like,
The witchy
okay,
poo. I call it the witchy poo shop.
yeah, yeah. So one of my friends on TikTok, she reached out to me and she said, "Oh, look, if you want to know a little bit more, I might be able to help you a little bit." And I was like, "Cool." And so we got to talking, and she's like, "Okay, look, it is a lot." And she goes, "It's very odd for someone that's nearly 50 to experience this and have it all open up." And she said, "So I can understand that it's a lot to take on." One of the other weird things was one of my friends told me I need to ground myself. And she's like, she goes, I know that it's probably hard to clear your mind. And she goes, so just light a candle, set an intention. And I was like, what's an intention? And she's like, what do you actually want out of it? I'm like, I don't
Well,
know.
what's your
The
what's your
story.
result? Yeah.
Yeah, and she goes, maybe just for clarity, like what's your biggest issue? And so and she goes, just light the candle, say what your biggest issue is and what you want to do in a positive way. And she goes, if anyone can turn a negative into a positive, you can. And she goes, and then
I've
just start
noticed
writing
that.
stuff down. Yeah. So this was like my first experience with lighting the candle. I'm like, oh, okay, like I just want to know if this is real. Like, that's all I want. Like, am I going completely nuts or is this real? Even though I'd had a number of experiences by this stage that, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is real. And so I started writing stuff down and 10 kept on coming to me. And I'm like, what? Like, literally, my mind goes 100 miles an hour with like lots, lots and lots in it. But it all went quiet and all I kept getting was 10, 10, 10, 10. And I'm like, all right, like, because I wasn't writing it down. And I was just like, all right, fine, I'll write down 10. Like, so I
And did
wrote
you?
down.
And yeah, what was the significance of the 10?
So it went through and then like said it, like the voices sort of said a couple of things. And I still, but it kept on going back to 10. And I'm just like, why does it keep going back to 10? So every time I went back, I wrote down 10. And then like, okay, I'm going to draw a picture. So, because I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I'm going to draw a picture because I want to get rid of these words. And so I did a circle, and then I did like all these 10 sort of spokes off it, and then like circles around that. And then there was me, and then I wrote me in the middle.
Yep.
And then the 10 seemed to go away.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, well that's me. Like I'm like, but still, what does the 10 mean? What 10 what? Nothing. No more tens. Anyway, so I called my friend that had told me to do this and I said, okay, I've just done this. Yeah, and I explained what I've just explained now. And she goes, do you know what 10 means in numerology? I was like, no. And she goes, 10 is like the end of things. It's the start of something new.
That's
You
right.
know,
First thing I thought.